Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154, where we're in the Tier 10 British tank destroyer FV4005 Stage 2, and we have the enviable position of being top tiered at 10s over 8s on the Steppes map. Now we've got a bit of a job to do, and because it's me, I like to do these things the hard way. Alliance-4 for the Chimera, titled There's Something in Those Trees. Your primary objective for this mission is to cause 2,000 hit points of damage to enemy vehicles. The key problem, however, is that you need to remain unspotted at the time that the damage is caused. And that can be a little bit of a challenge for FV4005 Stage 2 because its concealment ratings are pretty well negligible. Our only choice, therefore, is to engage enemy vehicles from beyond their spotting range, or to remain highly concealed through cover when we do fire. As is the case with many of the missions for Chimera, the honours conditions are to win and also to survive. Given that this vehicle is not exceptionally well armoured, then staying back is a fantastic strategy to contribute to that survival. And that means no senseless crosses across open ground, such as this T10 that's tried to take the initiative and get into the rocky outcropping, but it's just fallen foul of our forward scouts in the form of a brace of Barasks that have now reduced it to about 30 hit points. To that end, we've decided to position to cover the bushes at the northern end of that rocky outcropping, just in case it decides to poke out. Now, this is probably overkill given that our 183mm armament does 1150 hit points of damage and penetrates for 310mm. Or if you absolutely need to annihilate the target, the famous Hesh shells do 1750 hit points of damage and penetrate for 230mm, although since version 1.13 they haven't been quite as effective. This is also the case for the standard high explosive shells, which still penetrate for 92mm but are certainly not as impactful on the game as they used to be. Connecting your shells with the target is also a mix of time and patience, because your dynamic dispersion factors are just huge. Your aim time is also over 3.5 seconds long, and all you've got to look forward to is a base dispersion of 0.4 meters per 100 meters. So you want to be equipping your vehicle and your crew to try and minimize that as much as possible. We're running food, we're running an upgraded bounty improved aiming unit, and we're also running an enhanced gun laying drive. Collectively, that's getting our aim time below 3 seconds and our base dispersion down to 0.36 meters per 100 meters. This is still not exactly ideal because it still takes a long time to dial that shot in, and when you've only got 14mm of armour on your turret facing, you want to be doing your absolute darndest to not be detected in the first place. Standoff tactics are the best way to do that. And he would also regard a gun rammer as essential equipment, giving you 29-second reload. Your standard shells, that will yield a 2400 hit point per minute output, but it's a lot more respectable with the Hesh shells peaking at 3650, but bearing in mind that's off a lower penetration. Into the gameplay now, and the enemy is making their move along the one line with T-34 well and truly committing, but falling foul of our tank destroyers, Scorpion G setting it on fire and sending it back to the garage. Scorpion G taking a few hits from T10 in the process. Unfortunately, that opportunity to land that shot on T10 was unavailable to us. Realistically, it would have taken quite an overextension, not so much for Object 263, who had the perfect position and angle to send the T10 packing. Scorpion G had attempted to retreat earlier for safe at Pashas, but that turned out not to be the case with Emil 2 bringing it down with this cracking shot from the other side of the field. In the meantime, we've decided to reposition our FV4005 Stage 2. A couple of reasons for that. One, we've lost a Scorpion, so that's one less gun covering the mid. Two, there appeared to be more of an urgency to cover the mid given the appearance of T-44-100 as well as the E50M. Additionally, we weren't all that confident of being able to pick up more damage on the one line. That's something best left to more mobile or more well-armoured vehicles. Barask certainly making great use of the mobility, has taken a hit on the way in, but quick draw McGraw here, sending the enemy Scorpion to the great tank park in the sky. Enemy E50M edging ever closer and engaging with our Tiger II. Now we do kind of sort of have a bead on it, but we thought we'll be a little bit more patient with our shot, and that patience does pay off, landing a decent high roll on the Tier 10 German medium. Against all odds, we'd also remain concealed at the time of firing, which has put a nice meaty dent into our mission objective of 2,000 hit points of damage inflicted from a concealed position. The E50M is not an idiot, however. They are astutely aware that after the big scary gun is fired, it's not going to be able to fire again for another 25 to 30 seconds. So they make their push on the Tiger, and although they suffer a tracking injury and another hit, they do manage to knock out the Tiger II. Charioteer has a go as well, but unfortunately it's only carrying the 20-pounder gun, so that's bounced harmlessly off the upper frontal plate of E50M, so it's going to slip away below our firing line. Charioteer, however, is still sitting high and pretty, looking for that opportunity on either E50M or T44-100, but T44-100 invariably finds it first. Leopard 1, sensing the opportunity here for a tier 10 kill, is rushing into the fray with E50M, of course, only having less than 30 hit points. It's found it, but it is eating a tremendous fusillade of shots here and has lost a good half of its hit points in this overall encounter. Probably not the best trade in this instance, but a kill's a kill. So tangible progress being made on all fronts. We're trying to make sure that from the back line we can adequately provide the covering fire that the team needs. Unfortunately, a swing and a miss on enemy SU-130PM as it starts to go low. Though with nothing better to do for the next 25 to 30 seconds, we push forward. Of course, as our front line push forward, so should the back line, because we're not here to defend the cap circle. We're here to actually protect our teammates and cover their advance. And they're advancing quite rapidly here. Barask pulling up on T44-100. T44-100 switching rocks to try to get behind the Barask, but taking an absolute hail of shells in the process, and Barask still with the shell in the tube knocks it out. With scores 6-4, the battle rages on, with our team's advances up through the middle of the map, getting the attention of the enemy Emil 2. That was our sharpshooter from before, but we can sharpshoot too, and we managed to pick up that damage on Emil 2 and enough to get us our primary mission condition of 2,000 hit points of damage inflicted while remaining unspotted at the time of firing. Barask makes it up to the first line of enemy defense, but it looks like they've already withdrawn back to their second line and have greeted them with a withering crossfire. The commitment on the 5 line was a lot heavier, with Leopard 1 bearing down on Emil 2, managing to round out its last 6 hit points. This push has also revealed other targets of opportunity, one of which had actually eluded us earlier, specifically SU-130PM. So we're giving as much time as we can to dial the shell in. Good patience pays off, and they are one and done. Surviving remains one of our honours conditions here, and we were lit in that engagement, so we are trying to reverse out of this situation as quickly as we can. But that can be quite difficult when your peak reverse speed is only 8 km per hour. It is one of those characteristics that I think gets FV4005 Stage 2s killed most often, is your inability to reverse quickly out of a situation. It's probably academic as to whether there are any enemy vehicles around that could actually cause us harm. Leopard PTA well and truly distracted as it was towed up by Pershing here, and Object 263 and E75 leading the charge on the enemy 53 TP that was the last line of defense on the 1-2 line. Object 263 giving it a great big face hug, while E75 delivers the killing blow. Resuming our push in support of the front line, more of the enemy backline reveals itself, specifically Progetto 46. Now, this guy had already taken 3 kills over the course of the game, but we've brought their reign to an end. This just leaves a couple of tank destroyers to be dug out of the back corner, which of course the terrain conditions can be quite favourable, but not so much when you've got this order of tanks levelled against you. Stridsvan S1 has been knocked out, just leaving Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger, who's taken a hit from Barask, but returns it with lethal efficiency, but with Leopard 1 practically showing off its fantastic gun handling on the move, clears out the last enemy resistance. So that's a win from us, and a win in which we've survived as well, so that's covered off both our honours conditions. Let's have a look at the rest of the results. So despite the completion of a Chimera personal campaign mission, there was no mastery level assigned to us on this game. We did come away with 4,200 hit points of damage and 2 kills, earning us the Fire for Effect medal for doing at least our hit points in damage. Looking at the team scores, it was Tomcat Tech who was the standout achiever of this particular game, with over 2,300 hit points of damage inflicted and seizing a kill on the enemy Scorpion G earlier. Contributing to this top by experience points placement is nearly 3,300 hit points of assist damage as well. Leopard 1 was the follow-up with nearly 3,200 hit points of damage and 5 kills. We trail long behind them in 7th place. Now there are a couple of contributing factors to this. For one, we were at tier 10 punching down on tier 8s, so that's going to impact your experience points take. Additionally, in order to fulfill the mission conditions, the sort of shots that we had to fire were generally upon vehicles that we weren't able to see ourselves. Accordingly, this also wears down on your experience points take. So the mission itself, although that wasn't necessarily our objective as we loaded in, the conditions to achieve that mission objective were going to be letting us down in this case in terms of the experience points take. Looking to the enemy team, the standout performer here was the Progetto 46 with nearly 2,200 hit points of damage inflicted and taking 3 kills. To the detailed report, this was a satisfactory outcome financially, because we didn't really use any of the premium shells and we had a ready supply of food, so that didn't actually cost us this battle. Battle payments were in effect, which if we take that out of the equation, that's still a 28,000 credit game for us. One of the contributing factors to this was not a lot of futile shots. We fired 5 shots, we actually landed 4 of them, and all 4 of them did some damage to the target. So those efforts to improve the gun handling here has certainly not been wasted. But thanks for tuning into this one, tankers. We'll be back with more videos. And if you'd like to see yourself featured in one of our videos, then head on over to our Discord channel where you can put your spicy replays onto our submission platform. And if at all possible, we'd love to get you in to interview you live on Twitch to understand what was going through your mind and down your barrel in the course of that fight. In the meantime, happy tanking and take care out there.